Good afternoon and welcome. This is Spotlight Africa and we're coming to you live from Uyo, the capital city of Akwa Ibom State. My name is Uyai Eman. Today on Spotlight Africa, Cameroon's Paul Biya, 92, announces bid for another term. Mali's former Prime Minister Moussa Mara called in for second day of questioning. CAR once again postpones local elections. Ramaphosa struggles to amend fences with Donald Trump. Plus, Member of Parliament charged for accusing Lesotho King of signing over country to South Africa. We'll bring you details of these stories and more in a moment. Good afternoon and thanks for joining us. We begin Spotlight Africa from Cameroon, where the longtime leader, President Paul Biya, has officially announced he will run for another term in office, ending months of speculations over his political future. The 92-year-old made the announcement on social media, stating his continued determination to serve and promising that the best is yet to come. Biya has been at the helm of Cameroon over 40 years, making him the second longest serving president in Africa. His decision to seek re election has sparked criticism from opposition figures and human rights advocates. One prominent activist described the announcement as a clear sign of Cameroon's stalled political transition, adding that the country is in urgent need of democratic change and accountable leadership. In 2018, Biya secured a controversial victory with over 70% of the vote. That election was marked by allegations of fraud, low voter turnout, and violence. The country's conflict-ridden English-speaking regions have been deeply affected by a separatist crisis that has forced thousands of students out of school and led to deadly clashes between security forces and armed groups. Throughout his presidency, Biya has faced accusations of corruption and failure to address national concerns. His frequent absences from the country for medical treatment have also raised concerns about his health and ability to govern effectively as the country heads toward another election cycle. Biya's bid for another term promises to be a polarizing chapter in Cameroon's already complex political landscape. In another development, Mali's former Prime Minister Moussa Mara has been called in again for questioning by the country's Judicial Investigation Brigade. Mara had already undergone several hours of interrogation on Tuesday but was allowed to return home. Mara, who resigned from his office in 2015, posted a message on social media in which he said he visited several political and civil society figures in prison, including journalist Ras Bath and social media influencer Rosie Verschuri. Reports say there has been no official statement on why Mara is being questioned, but his use of the term prisoners of conscience may have eyed authorities with the implication that their detention is politically motivated. Mali is ruled by a military junta that seized power in 2021. Away from that, US President Donald Trump is ramping up his tariff agenda, announcing plans to impose new duties of over 10% on imports from smaller nations, including several in Africa and the Caribbean. The move marks a sharp shift in US trade policy aimed at what Trump describes as reciprocal treatment. Several African countries are already preparing for steep increases. Lesotho, a small southern African nation, could face tariffs as high as 50% on goods exported to the United States. While the tariffs are currently on hold during a 3 month consultation period, concerns are rising over the long term economic fallout. U.S. Commerce Secretary Howard Lutnick supported the move, saying the president plans to handle small nations in the way he believes is most effective. The World Trade Organization is urging the United States to reconsider. World Trade Director General Ngozi Okonjo-Iweala has called for African countries to be exempt from the proposed tariffs, warning that such actions could severely damage developing economies and undo years of progress. As the consultation period unfolds, both affected countries and international trade bodies are calling for dialogue. They hope to avoid a new wave of economic instability, especially for vulnerable economies dependent on exports. Elsewhere, scheduled to take place for the first time in almost 40 years, local and municipal elections in the Central African Republic have once again carrying significant natural resources, including uranium, oil, gold, and diamonds. In a separate development, the Trump administration is treating South Africa almost like a pariah, blacklisting its envoys, refusing to send top level officials to meetings it hosts, and threatening to hit the nation with such high tariffs that its economic crisis is likely to deepen. The latest sign of these came with the revelation by the second biggest party in South Africa's coalition government, the Democratic Alliance, that the US government had rejected President Cyril Ramaphosa's special envoy, denying him a diplomatic visa in May and refusing to recognize him as an official interlocutor. Ramaphosa had created the post for Mbekesi Jonas, the non-executive chairman of mobile phone giant MTN and a respected former deputy finance minister, to improve South Africa's rock-bottom relationship with the US. Ramaphosa's spokesman accused the DA of disinformation but did not explicitly deny the party's claim. The US State Department declined to comment when contacted by reporters, citing visa record confidentiality. Meanwhile, Jonas's appointments came after President Donald Trump had cut off aid to South Africa, accused Ramaphosa's government of persecuting white people, condemned it for being genocidal against the Israel at the International Court of Justice, and for reinvigorating relations with Iran and implacable foe with the US. Meanwhile, South Africa's Eskom aims to shift to mainly clean energy sources by 2040, the company reported on Wednesday. The state owned power utility is currently operating with a predominantly coal based generation fleet. Eskom told South African lawmakers it planned to have 32 gigawatts of renewable energy capacity by 2040 compared to less than 1 gigawatt now. The South African company told lawmakers that its $22.31 billion debt burden slowed its investments in renewable energy. To shift towards a greener production, Eskom said it will repower older coal fired power stations slated for closure with newer technologies. The firm will also have its own renewable energy business unit to implement new projects and partner with private companies. In the meantime, a Lesotho member of parliament is facing criminal charges after he accused the country's monarch and government of signing over control of Lesotho to its much larger neighbor, South Africa. Dr. Nsefo Lifolo also faces charge of violating the dignity and reputation of the royal family by declaring himself the chief ruler of the landlocked country. He reportedly appeared in court on Monday to apply for bail, but this was postponed to a later date this month. The opposition member of parliament has previously called for parts of South Africa to be declared Lesotho's territory and wants them returned to Lesotho's control. Among them is the Free State, one of the three South African provinces that share a border with the small Southern African nation. Dr. Lifolo is also laying claim to parts of the Northern Cape, Mpumalanga, Eastern Cape, and KwaZulu-Natal. The people of Lesotho called Basotho lived in these areas until the 19th century when they were seized by Afrikaners, white South Africans. Many still live there, especially the Free State. French army to leave Senegal amid Africa downsizing. Stay tuned for details of this and more in a moment. Welcome back and thanks for staying tuned. In Al Shabaab, insurgents have seized the town of Tardo in Somalia's central Hiran region. According to a military official, Tardo is a key crossroads between larger urban centers. The town fell on Sunday after Al Shabaab combatants drove out government allied clan fighters. Major Mohammed Abdullahi told reporters. Somali lawmaker Dahir Amin said at least 12,500 families have fled Tado and the nearby town of Mercouri, which Al Shabaab captured last week. The group is advancing to other areas in the region. About 100 Somali soldiers have been deployed to reinforce the counterattack led by local clan fighters. Al Shabaab has waged an insurgency in Somalia since 2007 in an attempt to overthrow the country's government. The Al Qaeda linked group seeks to establish its own rule based on a strict interpretation of Sharia law. Al Shabaab's offensive in the Hiran region has escalated since early this year. Previous advances reached within 50 kilometers of Somalia's capital, Mogadishu, but Somali forces recaptured those villages. Lastly, today on Spotlight Africa, France will today officially and formally hand back its last military bases in Senegal, leaving the French army with no permanent camps in West and Central Africa. Ending the French army's 65 years in Senegal, the pullout comes after similar withdrawals across the continent, with former colonies increasingly turning their backs on their former ruler. Around 350 French soldiers, primarily tasked with conducting joint operations with Senegalese army, will leave the West African nation after a 3-month departure process. France started ceding its bases to Senegal in March. Recall that after storming to victory in 2024 elections, promising radical change, Senegal's President Bassirou Diomaye Faye demanded France withdraw troops from the country by 2025. Unlike the leaders of other former colonies such as Junta run Burkina Faso, Mali, and Niger. However, Faye has insisted that Senegal will keep working with Paris. And these are all the stories that we can bring to you today on Spotlight Africa, bringing you stories all around the continent. This has been put together by Spectrum Television. Do well to follow us on social media, subscribe to our YouTube channel, all of which you can find on Spectrum TV Live.ng. I am Uyai Imam. Thanks for watching. Enjoy the rest of your day. Good afternoon.